I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. Will Trump play the Trump card? Segment 2. And let me just set the stage for talking about the Trump card by bringing you up to date on the fact that Lindsey Graham, who was involved in the 11,800 votes that Trump was looking for the Secretary of State of Georgia to give to him when he made that phone call going back, I think it was in December or January. Lindsey Graham also called at Brad Rassenberger and asked him also to, or at least I think held a discussion about those votes. Well, Fani Willis, who is the district attorney for Fulton County, Georgia, has subpoenaed Lindsey Graham to come and give testimony regarding his involvement with Trump calling and asking the Secretary of State to rig the vote count. And she subpoenaed him. He rejected it. They took him to court, or he took the subpoena to court, and the lower court said that he could not use his status as a senator to avoid giving testimony in what was a criminal matter. So he appealed it to the appellate division in the 11th Circuit. The 11th Circuit also looked at the case that Lindsey Graham brought, and they also stated that Lindsey Graham had to testify before the Fani Willis district attorney criminal investigation into Trump calling and asking for Georgia's votes to be given to him. Well, Lindsey Graham a few days ago appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. As a senator, you get that kind of clout, if you will, or opportunity. And Clarence Thomas, whose jurisdiction is the 11th Circuit Court on the federal bench, approved or at least put a stay on Fani Willis and the subpoena, giving Lindsey Graham the opportunity to either have the Supreme Court hear the whole argument and rule, or hear the whole argument and rule against him. But what Clarence Thomas did has upset a lot of people, because Clarence Thomas' wife, Jenny Thomas, was greatly involved in January 6th, sending texts to Mark Meadows and saying that. Now, Jenny Thomas is the wife of Clarence Thomas, the second Hamite brother to make it to the Supreme Court since Thurgood Marshall, but came in under the Republican conservative right-wing banner. And there was, a vote in the Supreme Court going back a couple of months ago where all of justices, including the ones that Trump appointed to the court, rejected Trump's appeal to the court, but Clarence Thomas voted for it. Clarence Thomas is married to Jenny Thomas. Why these black folk always, and I don't get racist and everything, but get some money, they always want to live around white folk. Anyway, and I don't mean that as a racist thing, but then you see what I'm saying. Here, Jenny Thomas has stated publicly, and even before the January 6th commission, put it back up, Mr. Engine, if you will, please. Jenny Thomas has stated before the January 6th committee that she believes that the election of 2020 was stolen from Donald Trump. Now, she's married to one of the most powerful men on the federal court bench. He's on the U.S. Supreme Court for life. And she is very much trying to overturn the election of 2020 between Biden and Trump. She's trying to overturn it, get Biden out of there, and put Trump in. And her husband, of course, has the power of the Supreme Court. So he granted Lindsey Graham an opportunity to stay Fani Willis' subpoena to bring him in for questioning down in Fulton County, Georgia. So my question is this. One is that here's a woman, Jenny Thomas, and you would think Clarence Thomas, and he's a very learned man, obviously. You would think that anybody who sits on the Supreme Court and potentially believes, or would have his wife believe, that the election was not a fair election, that it was absolutely stolen. Now, you have to understand the deep implications that means for our democracy, that our elections are not fair. I say our election, the American elections are not fair. And of course, there's always at some point some sort of fraud going on, illegal voting, but not at the length where it really overturns the election and makes it an event where it was completely unfair or stolen. But if Clarence Thomas believes that the election was stolen, stick a pin right there. Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch are three justices on the Supreme Court that Trump appointed. And they don't believe that the election was stolen. They don't believe it. And they've expressed it in their rulings as Trump has brought several matters before them. The 11th Circuit Court of Georgia, these justices were appointed in a 4-year span by Donald John Trump. But they don't believe that the election was stolen. But Clarence Thomas and his wife do. Listen, you can't begin, it's one thing to have racial differences, political understanding, social differences, differences regarding gender and sexuality, different ideas regarding the Bible, scripture, religion, and truth. But when you got a man and his wife, and a man who's on the Supreme Court who believes that our election process is flawed and the election was stolen from Donald Trump by Joe Biden, trouble. But it gets worse than that. Yeah, it does. It gets worse. Because here's the deal. If the election was stolen, of which I don't believe that it was, do I believe that a lot of shenanigans are going on? Obviously, I do. But listen to this for just a moment. If Joe Biden, my time Biden, was smart enough, working with the Democrats, working with people like Nancy Pelosi, working with people like Kamala Harris and Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, if Joe Biden, my time Biden, was smart enough to actually steal the election from the con man Trump, and Trump is a con man, been a con man all his life, don't know how to do nothing but con. Don't expect him. Don't expect Trump to come clean about anything. He's a con man. He's been that all his life. He's been that all his life. And if he called Joe Biden Sleepy Joe, if Sleepy Joe was able to outwit the con man, if Joe Biden was able to take something from Donald Trump, then Trump ain't all of what he think he is. You have to realize people run around here, the election stolen, election stolen, election stolen. Well, at the same time, you're saying that Joe Biden is smarter than Trump. Jesus said this. I'm telling you what Jesus said. I will. I'm gonna. Jesus said, you can't break into a man's house and spoil his goods unless you're stronger than him. And by the way, if Joe Biden stole the election, he stole it from the outside. Trump was sitting in the White House. Trump had the CIA, he had the Pentagon, he had the IRS, he had the FBI, he had all of that. He had the Secretary of the Cabinet, he had all of that power, and the power of the White House. And yet, they say that Joe Biden, with all that power that Trump had, that Biden stole it from Trump while he's sitting there in the White House in the Oval Office. That makes Joe Biden a bad boy. That makes him a bad boy. It makes Trump an unprecedentedly patently loser. If it's true that Biden stole the election, then Trump is an unquestionably patent loser from way back when. And everybody out there on Fox News, everybody out there in MAGA world, everybody out there everywhere else that's saying that Trump lost the election, it was stolen from him, is saying that Trump is a little boy and Joe Biden is the man. Joe Biden is the man because Joe Biden took it from Trump while they had all that power. And all Biden had was Nancy Pelosi. I do declare, Lord have mercy. If that's true, if it's true, Trump should have, if Joe Biden really did steal the election, Trump should have never said a word, because what it does, I mean, you take the time and look at what it says. It says that Biden is smarter. At least Jesus said in his text that Biden is smarter and stronger than Trump. And that's why he's the president and Trump ain't. That's what Jesus was saying. If what they're saying is true. You have to make up your mind. So I look at all these people out there, election deniers. They're all over everywhere. The election was stolen. Biden, I wouldn't admit that Joe Biden can ring your bell, that Joe Biden can take your thing, that Joe Biden can pull you out the White House. Joe Biden had the power while you had the Pentagon, you had Air Force One, and you had Marine One, and yet sleepy Joe Biden pull you out the White House. I wouldn't tell it. I tell everybody else to shut up. Don't say that about the election was stolen, because it makes Trump look like a little boy in knickers. What on earth is the world coming to? Then you got all these commentators, all these people on the news, you got all these Tucker Carlsons and everybody out there, touting the same thing. Don't you realize you're putting Trump down? But it gets worse than that. So, woo, it gets worse than that. Yeah, it does. And I promise not to inflict myself on you any further after this. Well, I say that Biden did steal it. And Trump runs again in 2024, and he wins legitimately, or he wins by whatever hook or crook. But listen, man, and here's where it gets really bad. If Joe Biden was able to kick Trump's butt up and down 16th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, if Trump becomes president again, maybe I can take it from him. Because I don't think Joe Biden can take nothing from me. I don't think Joe Biden can take a dime out of a blind man's eyes as far as I'm concerned. I don't think Biden can take nothing from me. But if Biden did steal it from Trump, then maybe Trump becomes president, maybe I might decide to take it from him. And they be calling President James David, boom, shaka like a man in his house. I swear, I've never seen so many silly people, these MAGA people. I tell you the absolute truth. And by the way, it's just as plain as the nose on your face. Don't say he stole the election. It'd been one thing if it just been like Hillary and Trump will run against each other, but Trump had all that. Trump had the White House. Let me ask you one other question. And I promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. And my promises are good to go. You can take it to the bank. Now, if Biden, and you say he did, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, hey, Laura Ingraham, hey, Laura, hey, Laura, hey, Janine Shapiro, hey, Janine Pirro, whatever your name is. If Biden stole the election, right, what do you call Trump in possession of all those documents down there in Mar-a-Lago? Are they stolen? Trump was at a rally the other day. He said, they're mine. All these. He said, they broke into my house and they stole my documents. Well, quite frankly, doggone. to let the people break into your house. Trump is batting zero everywhere you. Joe Biden stole the election from him while he was in the White House. Joe Biden sent the boys down there to break into Trump's house and steal, take back the document. Doggone Trump, you can't win, boy. You can't win, man. I ain't gonna trust you with nothing, because you can't hold on to it. Especially you let somebody like Biden. All right, everybody. Okay. All right, so you get the idea. You figure the rest out for yourself. I got to go. I got somewhere else to go and something else to do. But I got to tell you this. I'm James. They've been manning everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.